So my guest today represented the PNG Kumuls at 3 World Cups in 1995, 2000 and 2008. He spent 14 years playing at the highest levels in England for Hull KR, Hull FC, Huddersfield, Bradford and Halifax. And he's described as a legend of the Papua New Guinean sporting culture. His age is one of Rugby League's greatest mysteries. Welcome to Chasing Kangaroos, Stanley Gene.
It's a pleasure having me on board, Michael, and probably good night over there to all the listeners, and probably a morning here back in England.
Yeah, mate, it's fantastic. Mate, tell me about your current role at Hull KR. What are you working on at the moment? What's happening?
Yeah, I'm just back at Hull KR. The club brought me in. I retired actually here and went into coaching with the academy and then involved with the first team before I went on as a full-time head coach up in Newcastle. At the time, it was Gates at Thunder. So I've been out of the game for about 4 years. I'm spending more time with my younger boy because the older one, when you play Super League, by the end of the season, you go and play for PNG in all the tests and stuff. So
that's awesome.
I didn't spend much time with the younger one. So that's why I took 4 years out. And now he's doing his year 8, and I was ready to come back. So luckily, Tony Smith's here at Hull as head coach and give me that opportunity to come back. So I'm sort of helping out with the first team and reserve grade as assistant coach for the reserve grade and help with the committee and all the schools and anything to do around the club. Yes, I'm there to do it. Really enjoying it now, and it's like getting back to my normal routine.
Well, man, it must be great getting back to Hull KR where it all began for you over there in England. But take me back to the young man who grew up in Boroko in PNG. Do you remember your first rugby league memory?
Yeah, as I said, we used to play. We call it village game back home, and I used to play for a settlement team or a ghetto team, which we call it Genoka, and it's one of the roughest settlement in Boroko. And in my teens, going to high school, I used to stay there in the settlement and play rugby with the kids, and that's how I started playing. But I actually started playing soccer in school.
Oh yeah,
I was quite good at it. Yeah, and then how I switched to rugby league was when I was in high school. A couple of my mates represented schoolboys, and they toured Australia. And they came back, and my mates were showing me all these pictures of Sydney Harbour Bridge and Sydney Football Stadium, and I just thought I might as well just jump on board and play rugby league because they're going over and seeing another part of the world rather than playing soccer. So it wasn't quite long for me. I've changed and I've started playing probably rugby league in 88, 86, 87, and that's it. The whole was history, but I've always played. We have 4 settlement teams or the ghetto around Boroko, so we play a comp in between ourselves, and luckily we came up with this police team. The police Royal Constable of Papua New Guinea was in Boroko. We came up with the idea that it'd be good for them to sponsor us, and most of the young kids around the ghetto are doing, little petty crimes like, pickpocketing and stealing in the shops and shoplifting and all that sort of stuff. And, if the police can give us something to occupy our time, then we can, the crime will sort of cut the lower percent. And the police did. They sponsored us, and they call them Royals. And that really changed, especially the young kids, where they used to scared of police, and then the police had a really good relationship between the all 4 settlements, and that's how we created the police team in Boroko. And they've sponsored us, pay for our boots, take us in the police cars every weekend to the games. I was fortunate enough that I was playing quite well, and they've always invited me to the single police barracks quarters where all the single guys, the young kid policemen goes and eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Oh wow!
Where I go in and have all the food and stuff. So yeah, it's for me the place played a big part in my career as well in Boroko. So I've always try and give some old rugby shirts back to the police team back home, and especially through the settlement games.
That is incredible.
So yeah, that's how it all started for me. And after that, I started playing into the town team, which in Papua New Guinea we have like each league in each city or in each town. So they've got about 12 to 16 teams that play comp.
Yeah,
and then out of that, now we got that interstate teams called Intercity Cup, and that's when they select all these out of the 16 teams from the like Boroko Rugby League. They've select Boroko Lions, which represent each state to play. So we travel around to play that Intercity Cup.
And is that how you got? After that, is that how you got selected eventually for? So you played your first test against France in Port Moresby, 1994.
Yes.
So that's how you got selected. So
Yes, definitely. Because in '92 at the time the position I was playing was halfback, and we have quality halfback around the time because we got a player called Sam Carrara, who's the number 7 representing Papua New Guinea, and he lives in the same village as me. He lives about 100-meter walk, and I always look up on him as a player that I'd like to see. And the number 7 reminds me of Peter Stelling. That's how I got into playing.
Wow. Yeah.
I actually saw him on Friday night. He was invited back to Hall FC at a derby game, and
Peter was there.
He was there. Yeah, he invited him, and he took the Mets ball onto the field before the kickoff. So it was great to see a guy that I admire so much, and a team that I could remember the whole team from number 8 Ray Price to Peter Selin, Brett Kenny, Mike Cronin, Steve Ella, and Eric Groth, all represented Parramatta to New South Wales to Australia. So back in the day, that was my team. Yeah, Parramatta.
So you were a Parramatta fan. Did you get to see much like New South Wales Rugby League or anything back then? Could you see it back home?
We only saw the NRL, but because we live in the village, we used to walk up about 15, 20 minutes into only one hotel, and that hotel's got at the public bar. They have a TV right at the top.
Yeah,
but we're not allowed to go in, so we used to put like little empty drums to stand up and look through the window just to watch NRL because we don't have no TV back in the village.
That's crazy.
We used to walk up into the town just to watch rugby.
That's incredible. Before you know it, you're representing Papua New Guinea, and you won your first test against France, 29-22, and I think you kicked a field goal that day. Can you tell me, like, what was it like the first time wearing that Kumul jersey?
Oh, it's, everybody in PNG, every kid's, their dream, At that time, our dream is just the pinnacle, the Mount Everest is putting the jersey on.
Yeah.
But as time moves on and, you got players like me and Marcus Bai and all the guys who are playing, abroad, now the kids are looking at wearing the PNG jumper, but their sort of pinnacle is to go and get a contract somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or for them now is to play for PNG Hunters. But back then it was we had Sam Carrara who lives with me from me. There's a guy called Tony Kila. He's another good halfback. You got Tuxi Karu, who's another good 5'8". There's like the 3 top halves, and then when I came in, you got Adrian Lam, who's and then you got another guy called late Aquila Emil who passed away.
Yeah.
So there was like quality halfbacks, and they knocked me back in '92. I represented the junior Highlands Zone, and I thought I was ready to come in. They knocked me back, and then to make the Boroko side, I had to go and sit on the bench for Sam Carrara, and then one time he got injured, and they put me on, and that's it. I got at number 7 jersey and represent Boroko. And in '92, they put me on the Jones side instead of, they said, you're still young. So we went on to win the first Highlands team to go down and win the Jones Championship trophy. We beat the Southern Zone, which is the team in the city. Port Moresby. Most of them were Port Moresby Vipers and current Kumuls.
Yeah.
And that's when I first flew on a plane. I've never flown on a plane.
Wow. Yeah.
So it was the first time I flew down, and it was all like the plane itself. I remember getting loads of pictures sitting in that little plane.
Yeah.
Loads of memories to bring back, and and we won down there, and nobody ever heard of me. So I played well, got man of the match that game, and everyone in the city was saying like, "Who's that kid?
Who's this guy?" Yeah.
And that's it. Yeah. So 93, they put me into the intercity side. We won. We were the first team from the Highlands to win the cup from Port Moresby Vipers. Always Port Moresby used to win. So 93 we won that, and then in 94 they got me to play in the younger side. So it's like the PNG Colts.
Yeah.
So I wasn't in the test team who were based in Moresby. So we played friends in a trial match in Madang, and one of the players who was there was Mark Mom. At the time, he was playing for Canberra Riders, and he was playing 7, and I was playing 6. And then he got in, and he was in the team, so he got injured. I twisted his ankle, and they flew me that late night on that Sunday to cover for Mark Mom. We beat friends down there. I got man of the match as well, so they flew me down to sit on the bench. And it was Adrian Lamb and Tuxi Karu who played in the halves. And about 9 minutes to go, they pulled me in. And I set up a try and got a field goal, and we beat them, by 29-22.
That's incredible. You weren't even meant to play. Yeah, wow.
I wasn't actually in the team, So, sometimes I look at it as luck, and, when you get it luck, I told myself, I've got to be there, and that's it. The rest was history.
Well, the luck continued, man, because like you just said, you only just recently had flown on a plane. And then before you know it, you're on your way to England for the World Cup in 1995. And this is kind of where it really began for you. Because
95 years.
Yeah, you got noticed by Hull KR. But talk to me about this decision to move away from home to the other side of the world to play rugby league. Was that difficult? Tell me about it.
Yeah, it's very difficult. I mean, difficult and a tough decision because at the time, English is like it's a language that you have to go to school to learn.
Yep.
We have over 800. We have over 800 plus different languages. And say if my mom's from Gold Coast and my dad's from Toowoomba, there's 2 different languages, totally different.
Yeah, wow.
So when I went to school, you got to learn English, but English is one of the toughest languages. And for me to come over in '95 World Cup, as I said, everything sort of fall in place. So '92, I went down and won the Joan Championship Cup. '93 won the Intercity Cup, and then '94 came in and changed the game. We beat France. As I said, I wasn't in the team. I was in the Colts team, but luckily Mark Mom got injured, and he gave me that opportunity. And I see him, now and then. He used to be based in Boroko, and I said, "Oh, thank you for giving me that little gap." So. And then '95 World Cup, as any other player, my goal and my focus is to be in the team. And luckily, I was in the team, and that for me was the one of the things I've never forgot. I was back in the village, and I've told my little brother to go and buy a paper because we know that Monday they'll announce the team in the paper. And he went up and got a paper, and it was like I could see him from the top of the mountain. He was running down the hill towards my house, and I saw him running and like so excited. So I knew that I was in the team. And we were camped in Moresby, and we flew all the way to France and to England. We played our first game in Hull against Tonga. And I think one of the games that loads of rugby league supporters in Hull never forget, because it was like 22-0 or something. And we came back in the second half and drew, I think, 28-28 or something.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
They all these supporters now said, we thought you were playing with like hot potatoes. So, both teams were just passing the ball around.
That would have been incredible.
They've never forgot that game.
Yeah.
And, the cold weather was a little bit different to me. As I said to you before, I've been on a little plane back home, and F-28. And then when you fly in the big plane the whole experience of seeing Singapore, and I thought it was a city on its own, but it was a airport. Most of the things were just new to me, in my face, or everything was like in my face. And but going and playing the game was, I think, one thing that I love doing, apart from traveling and doing all the training, because you just want to get on the field and do the job. And we played at Boulevard, and after that game, they were impressed. So they asked me, John Hawkul, and Marcus Bai that if we interested in coming back. And I didn't know what contracts were, and I didn't know anything about it. And they said, they'll give me a car, they'll give me a house, they'll pay me a few pounds to come over and play. And then we went up to, we said, we'll think about it. And we went up to St. Helens and played New Zealand. And then after that, we went back home, and there was Hull FC and Hull Care was interested in me, both teams. So I left it with one of the PNG Rugby League manager. And I just told them that they got my post office box, and they said they're going to get in touch with me. At the time, we don't have mobile phones.
Yeah.
I don't have a phone at home, so every time they ring the police station. I give the police station number, our local police station.
Oh, wow.
And then whoever is on duty will pick up the phone and said, if it's from England, so give us 20 minutes. We'll bring Stanley in. So the police will drive all the way to the village with a siren and a loud hailer PH system saying, Stanley, come on, get up here. You got a phone call from England.
So they take you to the police station for a phone call.
Yeah, I used to run up to the hill, and then they'll say, come on. So I used to go and wait till the phone rings again, and I'll talk to them. And and then when we came back, that's when both teams were interested, but Halkinson Rovers were more. Every other week I get all these magazines and videos and history about the club. And the following year in '96, Super League broke away with NRL.
Yep.
And Super League host these big Super Nines in Fiji. And that's when we went to play in Fiji. I was selected in the team, and we beat England in the semi-final with my field goal again. I got a field goal, and we beat them, I think, 14-15 or something. Went to the finals with New Zealand. New Zealand beat us. And the team manager for England was a guy called Phil Lowe. He used to play. He's one of the great Britain England players. He used to play for Manly for a long time. And he was the team manager for England. At the same time, he was one of the board of directors at LKR. So he came up and brought a contract over. And he said, the club really wants you after seeing you play. We want to take you to England now. And I didn't have any excuse. I just said, I haven't got any clothes. I didn't bring anything. And he signed a American Express check or something. And he said, go in there and you can get anything you want in there.
So you went straight from Fiji to England? Didn't even go back home?
No, I went, and then I said, no, I got to see my family.
Yeah.
I got to go back and see my family.
Wow.
So I ended up heading back home, and me and John, they brought a contract for us to sign, and Marcus was signed by Hull FC.
Yeah.
I think if they would have brought me on my own, I wouldn't have picked the chance of jumping on a plane. But because it's three of us, we can bounce off each other when we are down and missing family and stuff.
Yeah.
So, yeah. We went back home, and my family, my mom didn't want me to go. All my uncles were like, come on, just get on the plane, go and see, try your luck. And if it doesn't happen, you give it a crack. And that's it. When all my uncles and everybody, we kill pigs and, the big feast going, like a wedding party going on. And with all the blessings and everything, I took off and left the shores, the warm country, from the mountains to England, Hull.
That is incredible, man. That is like, for most of our listeners, that would just sound like a whole nother world. Like, what a crazy story.
No, it's totally different. I was still sleeping in a, mud hut house, covered with, all the haze and bamboos mat around it, no power. We drink water from the creek. I still used to go down to school walking down and fetching water on empty cans or water bottles or buckets and bring them up. So everything was just a shock to the system.
Well, man, since then, like, you played 3 World Cups. You won a World Club Challenge for Bradford against the Tigers in 2006. You helped clubs earn promotion and establish themselves in Super League. Many call you the greatest Papua New Guinea and Kumul to ever play the game. But what is your absolute career highlight? What is the one thing that you would love to take your kids back and show them?
For me, the biggest one that I will say is, I've never forgot, is as a player who plays in that position as a halfback, a guy who stands on the field and tell everybody what to do, brings the game plan on, and then to speak English, which is not your language. That's probably a highlight for me to come over, play in the halves, and start learning the language again and knowing the accent, because in a Hull is a totally different accent.
Yeah.
And for me, that's a challenge of playing the halves. But sometimes I get really mad if they don't understand my language, my English, and then we ever go each other, and I started, swearing in my language. They say, "The place, what are you saying?" I said, "Oh, sorry, I lost it." So, that's for me. It's that always springs out to mind. I always tell my kids that that was so tough for me, but I have to overcome that to get on the field and and play. But I think one that stands out is the 97 Wembley. We were just had the opportunity to play in the Plate Cup, but just the experience of going there, and people always say about Wembley is one of the stadium that it's like all gladiators lucky to go there and play. I was lucky to be there for the curtain race and scored 3 tries. So just the experience of going there was unbelievable.
That's beautiful, man. Is there anything like looking back that you didn't quite achieve that you wish you did?
When I look back, for me, I always look for more the positive side of things in life. Even though when I finished, even when I was back home before I came, I'm always try and turn any negatives to positive. And I had a chance, when when Bob Bennett was coaching PNG, I had a chance of having a trial with Broncos, and then Matthew Ridge spoke to me them years ago about having a crack up at Manly. I had a chance of Western Suburbs, but at the time I had contracts, like a year or 2 still left on my on my contract, so it's quite hard for me to just leave. Looking back, I just thought, if I had a chance, I could have proved myself at NRL, but I wouldn't change anything for what I've done. I'm really humble and appreciate the things that I've done and achieved here.
It's actually really refreshing to hear someone sticking to their contract. So that's actually probably a really good thing, man. Nowadays, contracts break at the top of a hat.
I've always, when I was at Hull KR at the time in 2007, St. Helens came in for me, and I could have gone, but I said, this club brought me, from the other side of the world here, and, we play in first division, but, they brought me here. The money wasn't great. I was on 50 quid a week, about 200 pounds a month, but it's the club that brought me here, and, I will give whatever it takes for the club. And it's like back home, we all, it's about the trust and the faith that you have in your family, and we got tribes. That's the word, loyalty. So in our tribes we got different languages, we got different tribal things that we do, and we're always loyal to the family and loyal to our clan and our tribe. So Alkinson Rovers were like one of my.
That were your tribe.
One of my tribe.
Yeah, yes. I love that, man. I really want to know, because during your career you played almost every position, and obviously you played mostly in the halves, but was that your preferred position, halfback, or what was your favourite?
At the time, yeah, I was playing 7, and I went on to 6, and then probably as the question they've always asked, but as I said, as the years go by, I keep coming down the pecking order. So from 7, 6, and then came down to back row. But really enjoyed back row because at the time I put a bit of weight on, and with a ball in hand,
Yeah.
I can, break tackles and things like that. So I was playing the back row and then end up playing loose forward. Me, as Tony Smith always said to me, just give him the ball and he'll run. He can play on the wing or the other wing or fullback or any way. He said, just carry the ball and run.
Let him go. Yeah.
As I said, but I've enjoyed playing. But I mean, I started off playing 7, and then I think I enjoyed more at 6. Sort of freedom for me to run with the ball or kick or pass the ball. Yeah.
Who was the best player you ever played with?
Oh, that's what they come in different ways. If you want to say it, but I tell you, one guy that I've sort of looked at him, didn't have the chance to play with him more, was Jason Smith.
Oh yeah.
The guy was, he gets the ball, and when he's running, he runs like a little bit slow, but you think it's slow motion, the way he attracts defenders in, and he knows when to pass the ball, and he was so good, so good. But what I was surprised is what we used to do, we used to go do some weights when I was at Hall of C, and he'll come out and have his little tub, he'll go for a little smoke outside, and then get back in the gym. And and then he'll go out and he'll rip for 80 minutes quality. Yeah. I think that's one player that he hasn't got a body of, all ripped up. He's just Jason. But when he gets on the field, all the quality comes out of him.
He's one of those players that I'm glad you mentioned him, because he doesn't get, like, he's up there with, the Bradley Clydes and the Brad Mackays and that sort of style of player, but he don't get a lot of mentions, Jason Smith. So that's awesome, man. I have to ask you, so one of the greatest mysteries in rugby league, and I'm going to read something from online. It says this.
Yeah.
Stanley Gene's exact date of birth is not officially known. It is being researched as a matter of national importance by the Papua New Guinea National Agricultural Research Institute and the Department of Family and Church Affairs. So, mate, your age is one of the greatest mysteries in rugby league, but how old are you? Do you even know when your birthday is?
Yeah. You know what? You'll have to keep it that way, so it'll be a mystery till I die.
I love that, man. That's
funny.
Fantastic.
It was funny. Today we the boys were doing some wrestling, so we split the group because the weather was bad. We all doing everything indoor.
Yeah.
Anyway, so one of the group came in, and one of the player pulled out. All the forwards came in, and one of the player pulled out, so they have to be in twos to wrestle. So anyway, they looked around, all the coach stuff looked around, and I thought, oh, geez, there's no one going to do it. So I ended up doing it. And we were like wrestling each other. So you wrestle for about half a minute, and then you change. Another one comes on, and you're doing it. And I came out and I took my shirt out, and I'm like, I nearly spewed. That's the first time I probably do some proper training.
Oh wow!
And it was tough. But the boys are wrestling. They said, you are strong. So I said to them, okay, you better be playing well, because if not, I'll be next on you. I might be playing the reserve grade first.
You still got it, man.
But people ask about it, and as I said, it's great, because even when I was playing Super League, Steve used to have one of the Sky pundit, or Sky, how old is this guy? And every year I come in, I keep proving him wrong, and keep playing as young as I am. But mentally, I'm always strong, and as I said, I love playing. I love the question they keep asking, and as I said, I won't tell them. So you can put it. You can put a number between 21 and 69, and you can pick one out of that.
as long as you know, that's fine. That's all we need. That's fine.
Yes.
Mate, I want to talk about rugby league back home. So, like this podcast is all about development and growing the game around the world.
Yes.
And there isn't a place in the world where rugby league is more popular than Papua New Guinea. But there's a lot going on there. Obviously, you mentioned the PNG Hunters, and there's an excellent pathway now for players from Papua New Guinea into the NRL because of that. What do you wish for the future in Papua New Guinea Rugby League, or what needs to happen for say, the Kumuls to win a World Cup one day?
I believe that we got to get back down, crack everything down back to grassroots level.
Yeah.
Invest in more time with the juniors, and as I said, it's a very tough place to be in PNG because everybody play rugby league.
Yeah.
And, you go up in the mountains, you go to the seasides, any place, especially the mountains, it's like there's no field and people cut bushes down, clear trees. If there's a little flat bit there, they'll just play on it. There's no ball. I remember when I was playing back then, playing touch football, there's no rugby ball. So we used to tie, banana skins up or tie rubbers up or plastic to play with it, and it's so hard to, because of the diverse country as we are, it's so hard to really go in there and, invest the time. But I just think that if we can break it down and get back into building this junior level of rugby up, it'd be great and then you got, the only thing you got is the PNG Hunters, but, in PNG Hunters, you only got a squad of, 30 players to play.
Yeah.
But the country itself is so big. So, we got to find something like probably a junior, under 18s or under 16s Hunters. So the younger ones can come through the system and then the older ones go through the system. And I believe that if the players who are in the Hunters, if they're good enough, we don't have to hold them too long. We send them to Q Cup or we send them to New South Wales League if like a couple of boys now going.
Yeah. And
then we bring the rest through the system. At the moment, I know it's tough because PNG Hunters want to win the competition. Yes, but then is it about winning the competition or is it about the development of the players as well?
Yeah,
and I believe that if we send more players abroad to better coaching, better lifestyle, then when you pick the national team, you got a balance of picking. And I, for one, I can see where the confusion and some of the players' anger come from is that, I was a local kid back then.
Yeah.
And when I was playing, I was dreaming about playing for the PNG Kumuls. And then when I come through to represent PNG Kumuls, they selected all the players who plays overseas, who lives overseas. And that's where the teams are not for the national selectors. You have to pick the best team, and that means picking the guys who are playing NRL, Q Cup, New South Wales Cup, or play in England. But then, do you think it's fair for the boys who've been, paying their registration that gives the money back to PNG Rugby Football League, and the guys who's been playing in, hard surface and when it rains and, all their dream is to represent PNG Hunters and then to represent Papua New Guinea Kumul, and we look at it, are we fair on that? Because we thought about it before, and we used to have this team, the Reds against the Blacks, goals, or where we used to have all the overseas players against the PNG local players. And then we have a game together, whoever shows in that, we select for the PNG. And that's one we got to look at. We got to have another team that can, like the Hunters, that can play. We got to have more test matches as well. Go out, tour to Samoa, and give other players the chances. And I think when I've been back, we don't really tag on these young kids who come through. Like say before last year, the last 5-6 years, every time the PNG Prime Minister's team come and play, they always bring a New South Wales side or a Queensland side, side that play the PNG under 16, under 17. They don't have a database of these players. We've got to keep the database of these players, whatever high school they come from, whatever school they've come from, we've got to tag them up and see how their training is and, follow them through, because we can't just let them go. And that's where the kids, won't develop.
It sounds like from what you're saying that there's so much talent there that we're kind of missing out on, that aren't getting through, that are probably good enough. And I think you're right. We need to find ways to help them come through that pathway. Keep them in the game.
And it is. And the biggest things about, for me personally, is about the positional specific coaching. And as I say, you see the Hunters players or the PNG Kumul players, so they go signed by a NRL team, but when they're coaching at top level, they don't have time, to break these kids down. Because I went down to see the PNG players and the Hunters players. As a winger, you should know your roles.
Yeah.
As a job, if you're an electrician, if you go in there, you have to put the power off first and then do whatever wires you need to connect. As a winger, you have to, from fullback all the way to get in, you got to know your roles.
Yeah.
What your roles are, when to drop back. And that's what I think we need to coach, work individually with players. And that's probably come from experienced players. If it's David Wesley, who's with the props, middles, he can work with them and tell them their roles and what you need to do and all that sort of stuff. Because by the time they go up there, most of the PNG players, you're looking at Justin Olam. He had to go back down in the feeder club to play, to learn his trade again, learn his roles. You look at all the PNG players, the other one who's gone to Souths now. He's got to know his roles, how to cover the back three, when to come in. Yeah. When to come in to defend or when to hold and chill and wait and all this sort of stuff. If these kids knows, then, they know the basics of playing and, professional football. So when they get there, their minds are all set. But I don't think we've coached that into them from junior level to the Hunters level and and so on. So when you come through the system, you go to play for the PNG and the boys from overseas comes in. They know the system already, and they know their positional specific role. And I think that's one thing that the boys, we have to implement in schools or in junior level so that their mind is set for all these simple, basic plays, halfback, what he needs to do.
Yeah.
If halfback couldn't play on, who does he hold? Not just running for the sake of running. And the back row, what's my role? Who am I hitting? The three men, fullback, out of back, and all that sort of things there.
So it's more like, it's more professional sort of training
technical.
At those junior, technical training at those levels,
Yeah.
Because it sounds like just a bunch of boys and girls sort of getting together with a makeshift ball and having a game, so it needs to be more professionalized in a way. Mate, I've got one hypothetical question to end with.
Yeah.
This has been an incredible conversation. What a story. But I want to know hypothetically, if Papua New Guinea, if the Kumuls ever won the Rugby League World Cup, what would happen? You guys would have a month worth of holidays over there, am I right? It would be crazy.
Oh, man, when my Boroko team won in '93, we won the cup. First time ever a team outside the city to bring the cup up. We had a whole week just holiday. We had
That's crazy.
The whole week. I'm talking Boroko, yeah. The provincial government put a holiday. We stayed in the sponsors' hotel for about 2 or 3 days, eating, drinking anything in the hotel for free. One of the brewery called SP Brewery who sponsored the team just give us beers and cokes and everything for free. And I'm talking just a little league, Boroko League. But if you're talking, Rugby League, we in 2000 we qualified. We beat Tonga, which in France, and Tonga were they have Solomon Omwana, all the top NRL players in, and everybody in that group thought Tonga was going to win it, and we surprisingly beat them and went into the quarterfinals, and that was quite big, a big welcome we get. But if you talk about winning the World Cup, or even just beating Australia and New Zealand. It'd be, I can't imagine. The country will go wild.
They'd probably celebrate till the next World Cup. That's
how it will. Even a week, we'll have a week public holiday.
That's crazy. I hope it happens one day, because if there's a country that deserves it, it's Papua New Guinea, because you guys just live and breathe it. And Stanley, it's been incredible speaking to you, man. I want to say a big thank you for sharing your stories and your career with us, and continuing to do what you do to hashtag grow the game. Thank you so much for chasing kangaroos with me tonight, and congratulations on a wonderful career.
Thank you very much, Michael, and thank you for having me on board chasing the kangaroos. Next time I'll be chasing the Kumuls, eh?
Yeah, that'll be beautiful.
Cheers, my mate. Good night over there, and hope you're all okay. And if you want to catch me up again and talk about life after rugby, feel free.
I'd love to, man. We'll catch up again soon.